I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much you work on yourself. There are some times when things aren't going to go right. They just are not going to go right. There are times when anything that can happen will happen. Murphy's Law will be knocking at your door. Why? I don't know why. That's called life. And you have to deal with it. Sometimes your life will be in a slump, just like sports. Some of the best shooters can't hit baskets different times in games. They get in a slump. Do they sit on the sideline and say, I just didn't hit a basket today? No, they continue to execute. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation. Continue to move. Stay busy, stay busy, stay busy. Next thing is that you've got to activate the thinker in you. Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. If you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, if you want to begin to really enjoy a happy, successful, healthy life, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will.
If we don't have clarity on what we want, if we don't have clarity on who we are, if we don't have clarity on what our intentions are in social relationships, it's unnerving to us. Who's ever felt lost in life? Ever felt lost in life? Well, if you ever felt lost in life, you know that feeling. It's coming from a lack, often of clarity. You just don't know who you are, what you're about, what you want anymore. And it's unsettling when you lack clarity. It's really unsettling. How clear have you been about how you wanted to show up each day? How clear have you been about what you wanted and how you wanted to show up? Did you start the day with some clarity about how you wanted to live that day, show up that day, treat other people that day, serve that day?
Your brain is divided into two halves, positive and negative, good and evil. It don't function on nothing else. Ain't no neutral ground in there. It's either positive and good or negative and evil. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. You got 1 million factory workers on the positive side. You got 1 million factory workers on the negative side. At the forefront of each one of those factories in your brain is a foreman. You got foreman positive and you got foreman negative. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory.
It takes discipline to change a habit, because habits are formed a little bit each day, every day. Once habits are formed, they act like a giant cable. We must unweave every strand of the cable of habits slowly and methodically until the cable that once held us in bondage becomes nothing more than scattered strands of wire. It takes the consistent application of a new discipline. It takes discipline to plan. It takes discipline to execute our plan. And it takes discipline to change either our plan or our method of executing that plan if the results are poor. It takes discipline to be firm when the world throws opinions at our feet. Discipline is a constant human awareness of the need for action and a conscious act by us to implement that action. If our awareness and our implementations occur at the same time, then we begin a valued sequence of disciplined activity. If there's considerable time that passes between the moment of awareness and the time of our implementation, then that is called procrastination. Doing it tomorrow instead of today. Procrastination, an almost exact opposite of discipline. The voice within us says, get it done. Discipline then says, do it now, today, tomorrow, and always, until finally the worthy deed becomes instinctive. Procrastination says later, whenever I get a chance. Procrastination also says, do what is necessary to get by or to impress others. Do what you can, but not what you must. In every circumstance we face, we are constantly presented with these two choices. Do it now or do it later. A choice between a disciplined existence, bearing the fruit of achievement and contentment, or procrastination, the easy life for which the future will bear no fruit. The rewards of a disciplined life are great, but they're often delayed until some time in the future. The rewards for the lack of discipline are immediate. An immediate reward for lack of discipline is a fun day at the beach. A future reward of discipline is owning the beach. We choose today's pleasure rather than tomorrow's fortune. So how can you get rid of the easy distractions? How can you keep an attitude of doing it all and doing it now? How can you stay focused on your ambitions? How can you avoid conversations at the water cooler? You can keep your focus on your work. You can get it done today instead of tomorrow. Or you'll find yourself distracted. Distracted by negative thoughts, distracted by negative people. And pretty soon, depending on the type of people you've associated with, never underestimate the power of influence and associations. And never underestimate the power of your own consistent self-discipline. Now let's take a closer look at discipline. First, true discipline is not the easiest option. Most people would rather sleep until 10 o'clock than get up at 6. It's easier not to read. It's easier to turn on the television than to open a book. It's easier to do just enough than to do it all. Trying is always easier than doing. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have to make our bed in the morning, or pay our taxes, or show up for work tomorrow. Wouldn't it be fascinating? What do you suppose would become of us? You're right, not much. For whatever the reason, the system we live in and contribute to is designed to make the easiest things in life the most unprofitable. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards and a life of discipline and its far more significant rewards. Each has its own price, the price of discipline or the price of regret. We will pay one or the other. Speaking in a sorrowful tone at a time when there is no going back, this is regret. Choose one or the other, the price of discipline or the price of regret. One costs pennies, the other a fortune.
You know, I really believe in life you're either growing or you're dying. It's part of nature, it's part of the human experience. And too many of us start to get stagnant and we wonder why we're not happier.
I looked at my life and I just said, you know what? I want to do more. I want more for myself, my family. I want to be in charge of my own destiny. And what I was doing at that time was not providing that.
I really believe one of the pathways to true happiness, to true fulfillment, is to always be growing, always be evolving, always chasing the ultimate version of ourselves.
And it got to a point that just doing something 8 hours a day, just to pay the bills, it just didn't get it. I didn't find that fulfilling.
Because so many of us in our lives, we don't replace ourselves with the next best version all the time. And there becomes an age. For some of us, it's 18 years old, where the 19-year-old's almost exactly like the 18-year-old version. Their life, their results, their wealth, their happiness, their fitness is exactly the same. And this process of growth begins to slow down and in some cases stops altogether, where we're not replacing ourselves every year.
I was doing something to survive. What it takes to live versus what it takes to survive are two different things. That if you're not willing to take a chance on you so that you can explore some other possibilities for yourself, you'll never discover the greatness that you have within yourself to do more, to have more, and to experience more.
And so the only way we get to that ultimate version of ourselves is by replacing ourselves and growing all the time. This has to become an addiction for you. It has to become an emergency. You are either growing or you are dying. We need to grow. You need to grow, and it needs to become an intention of yours. It needs to become an obsession of yours.
I wanted to see what else was out there for me other than what I was doing at the time. Do something beyond your comfort zone. Learn something new so you can see what's in you.
Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail.
You got some more stuff back there, but you'll never find out what it is if you don't test yourself. So you want to maximize this time. You want to milk this moment. You want to make your move right now.
Success is not a comfortable procedure. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
One of the things that I do when I make some money, I operate like I don't have a dime. And this is what you have to do.
All of you have extraordinary capabilities. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category.
The people that are going to be successful are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. What is it that most people won't do? Here's what they won't do. Learn something new. They're comfortable with what they're doing now.
The Bible says, he who loves to sleep and the folding of hands, poverty will set upon you like a thief in the night.
If you're not willing to learn anything new, no one can help you. But if you're willing to learn something new, like I decided to do this, no one can stop you. If you're going to make it today, you got to be hungry. It's a different market right now. It's different. So the people that are going to come out on top, the people that will snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, they're hungry. You got to be hungry. People that are hungry are the first ones there and the last ones to leave. Most people are not hungry. Most people are conditioned to do just enough to keep from getting fired, where they've been paid just enough to keep from quitting. It takes some time to step out of that mental conditioning.
What you got to do to get the life that God wants you to have, you got to put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Do not live in your bubble. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful. I'd love to tell you, look, you can go out here and get rich, do a couple of things. That ain't happening. You got to get real doggish. You got to get downright funky if you want to make it. Now, like I was telling you before, if you want to be ordinary, you ain't even got to listen to me. Just go on about your business. If you think ordinary is cool, ain't no problem. It's some really, really wonderful ordinary people. But if you are sitting in this room and you have extraordinary aspirations, then you're going to have to do extra. You put extra on top of ordinary, and you come up with extraordinary. It's no other way. I'm sorry, but here's the fact. All of you have extraordinary capabilities. All of you. You have to decide if you are willing to do the things to put you in that category. Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life. It ain't but 24 hours in a day. You cannot be sleep 8 hours a day. You can't live in LA and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. The stock market been open 2 hours. They already making decisions about your life and your ass was asleep. Quit running away from the gift. Your gift will make room for you. Stop trying to be something you ain't gifted at. Nobody asked you to go down here and study to be a dentist, and you ain't really good at that. Listen to me. All of you have this gift. Identify it. It's the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's what you should be doing. You're wasting your time pursuing your passion. The Bible does not mention passion. It mentions your gift. What are you gifted at, and do that? Stop tripping. You can do that. If you fry chicken better than everybody you know, you ought to be somewhere frying chicken.
Everyone took ownership of their mistakes. Everyone took ownership of the problems. And when a team takes ownership of its problems, the problems get solved. And that is true on the battlefield, it is true in business, and it is true in life. So I say, take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Get control of your ego. Don't hide your delicate pride from the truth. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Take ownership of your mistakes, take ownership of your shortfalls, take ownership of your problems, and then take ownership of the solutions that will get those problems solved. Take ownership of your mission. Take ownership of your job, of your team, of your future, and take ownership of your life. And lead. Lead. Lead yourself and your team and the people in your life. Lead them all to victory.
I remember I was playing a game with my 9-year-old son, John Leslie, and I beat him 10 straight games in a game called Connect 4. And finally, I said, John Leslie, I'm bored. I don't want to play you anymore. And I got up. I said, I'm ready to go to sleep now. John Leslie said, no, you can't go now, Dad. I said, why? He said, it's not over until I win. That was his attitude. We sat down and we played several other games. And finally, after the 11th game, John Leslie won, and he got up and he yawned. And he said, I'm ready to go to sleep now. And I'm saying to you, what if all of us took that attitude after we face a rejection and a no, or we have a meeting and no one shows up, or somebody say, you can count on me, and they don't come through? What if we have that kind of attitude? The car's repossessed. Nobody believes in you. You've lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day, and saying to yourself, it's not over until I win. It's very important as you hold on to that dream. There are moments when you're going to doubt yourself. There are rough times that are going to come, but they have not come to stay. They have come to pass. It's very important for you to know that. Don't say I'm having a bad day. Say I'm having a character building day.
Sometimes from a delightful experience or a tragic experience, it can be the day that changes everything. For me, it was the Girl Scout that knocked on my door when I was 25 years old and gave me the big presentation about Girl Scout cookies. And I wanted to buy. She said, it's only $2, several flavors. And with a big smile, she politely asked me to buy. And I wanted to. Big problem, I didn't have $2 in my pocket. So I didn't want to tell her that, right? I'm a grown man. I'm 25 years old. I've been to 1 year of college. I've got a little family going. So I decided next best to lie to her. I said, look, I've already got lots of Girl Scout cookies. I bought some, and we still haven't eaten all of them. They're in the house. She said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And she leaves. When she leaves, I say to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I mean, how low can you get? I'm lying to a Girl Scout. That's about as low as it gets. So I promised myself that day it would never happen again. That was a life-changing day for me, recognizing that I was not in a good position. I must start making my search. A guy climbs the stairs, and there's about 40 stairs to climb, and he finally gets to the top, sits down, and he's out of breath. And he says, wow, this is not good. I've got to do something about my health. So it can be something that simple. So he starts a little research program and decides to get his health in order, develop a good nutritional program, whatever. And from that day on, he says, I'm not going to be out of breath anymore. Yesterday I quoted the saying, there's nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. Then I quoted it another way, there's nothing so powerful as an idea that comes at the right time. So I said a little prayer before I left my hotel room today. My prayer was, I hope today is one of those right times for many in my audience. And you never know. And for someone it's the first time, or you're the first voice that sort of awakens a search for a better life, meaning, skills, or you're one of many voices. Or they've heard many before, and now yours sort of comes on a day when the lights go on and they're never the same again. One of my friends woke up one day, David, and he said, sitting at the yacht club, having a drink, sitting sort of in a fog, something spoke to him and said, what could you really have done if you hadn't have been in this condition the last 15, 20 years of your life? You know, he wasn't like an out-and-out alcoholic, but he just, he drank too much. And he started thinking about that. What could I have really accomplished? We live in a world where opposites are in conflict and we're in the middle. There's the pull to do good and the pull to do evil, to do what's right, and the pull to cross the line. That bit of warfare goes on even in our own head, our own consciousness. When I was a little kid growing up, I remember this cartoon of a little boy. And it showed this little boy with a little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other side. The little devil said to the little boy, go ahead and do it, it'll be okay. It'll be fine, go ahead. The little angel saying, no, don't do it. The little devil said, yes, go ahead. The little angel voice, no. And I guess that's part of our life experience. It's part of the adventure. The old prophet said, love good and hate evil. And if we become educated in that way, knowing when the voice of temptation is not the right road to take, we make some better choices. When I got up this morning, a little voice said, you really don't have to do your exercises today. You could skip today. You've got some work to do. And I got in about 1 o'clock this morning on my airline flight from Colorado Springs. But as recently as this morning, the little voice said, you don't have to do them this morning. But I well know that if I postpone a day, sure enough, I've got to make up for it somewhere. Maybe do a modified version if I don't have quite enough time, but don't let it just go. But we all have that. That's fairly constant. What voice to listen to? I guess part of the answer is not to become a victim of yourself. Beware of the thief on the street that's after your purse, but also beware of the thief in your mind that's after your promise. The little thief in your head that says, you're too tall, you're too short, you've never done it before, it's not going to happen for you. Others can find this book, you can't find it. If you found it, you probably wouldn't read it. If you read it, you probably wouldn't understand it. This is a constant bit of warfare going on inside of our head. So we all have to deal with that, but what I call that in these experiences is the great adventure. A lady said to me that I met once in New York. She was vice president of this company. She made big money. I don't think she finished her high school education. She was still young, with a young family. And I said to her, how did you get here? This is a tough business. You make big money. You didn't graduate from high school. What happened? And she said, well, let me tell you part of the story. She said, years ago, one day I asked my husband for $10, and he said, what for? She said, by the end of that day, I had promised myself that I would never, ever ask for money again. And she said, yes, I am vice president. Yes, I do make big money. Yes, I am young. Yes, I did not graduate from high school. But she said, I promise you, Mr. Rohn, from that day until this, I have never asked for money again. She said, I started searching for opportunity, found it, started taking some classes, learned the skills, totally changed my life. I'm sure she would say that was one of the days.
Easy, do it easy. If it's hard, do it hard. Just get it done.
Well, Paul Harvey said that you can tell you're on the road to success because it's uphill all the way. And I'm here to tell you, this something-for-nothing entitlement mindset that invades so many people's lives is a bunch of garbage. I can promise you, nothing that I've ever had worthwhile did I have just kind of fall into my lap like, oh my goodness, I won the lottery. And I know once in a while people win the lottery, but basically the people that win the lottery, half of them lose their money within 3 years, the money they won. And it's because they got money, but they never changed the way they thought. And can I tell you something? If you have all the assets in the world, but you don't change the way you think, you'll lose all the assets in the world. And what I have discovered in this whole process of trade-offs is that every step of the way of my journey, I have to trade something off. And and for you that are young, the good news is your trade-offs will never be easier than when you're young. Because I remember when Mark and I started out, I think, man, I gave up everything. I was a pastor to go in the ministry. I gave up everything, and then I started smiling. I thought, I'm sure I gave up everything. I didn't have anything to give up when I did. I was a kid. You know what I mean? I had a 1964 Ford Falcon and a U-Haul trailer and 5 pieces of furniture, and life was grand, and off we went. Here's what I've discovered, kid, and I think that I want the audience and I want everybody watching around the world to know today, and this is very simple. The more successful you become, the higher the trade-offs are. You see, we make a mistake thinking it gets easier. It doesn't get easier, it gets harder. And the more you have, every time you go back and say, am I willing to risk that again? The more you realize, wow, I'm not sure I am willing to risk this. And what I've learned is the moment I stop making trade-offs is the moment that I plateau. And life is continually filled with trade-offs. In your life and in my life, my expression I use all the time, Ken, you've heard me say this, you have to give up to go up.
The people who dream and those people who dream big have a different kind of life than the people who don't dream.
When are you going to stop compromising your life with what everybody else wants you to do? It is your life.
It's the reinforcement of those goals, like understanding that you can achieve those goals. It's going to be difficult. You're going to push through the difficulty, and then you're going to understand what difficulty truly is and how much of it is just mental, how much of it is just in your mind, this adversity to a difficult task or to struggle.
You have to want something so big that it wakes you up in the middle of the night. You have to want something so big that you think about it all the time. No matter what happens to you, it ain't over. It ain't over. Ain't no such a thing as over. As long as God wakes you up, that means he ain't through with you yet. You got a shot to correct it and get it right.
Even when you lose, it's okay to lose, but you can't never get comfortable with it.
Your brain is the most powerful weapon in the world. Your brain is the only thing you have when you're going through depression, when you're going through hard times, you're going through death. Real life, you're alone. There's 24 hours in a day where you're alone in this brain. And your brain is talking to you in all kinds of ways. And it wants to control you and pull you in these different pockets. If you can't control your own brain, and your brain controls you,
greatness is upon you. And it's time for you to bring that thing out.
When things don't work out for you, when things happen that you could not anticipate, what are the reasons that you can think of that can keep you strong?
You will never, ever be successful until you turn your pain into greatness, until you allow your pain to push you from where you are to push you to where you need to be.
That is you. That is you.
that no one can do it for you but you. And even though you face disappointment, even though you will experience some setbacks, it goes with the territory. You must understand that. What if all of us took that attitude after we face a rejection and a no, or we have a meeting and no one shows up, or somebody say, you can count on me, and they don't come through? What if we have that kind of attitude? The car's repossessed. Nobody believes in you. You've lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your greed, reviewing it every day, and say to yourself, in spite of what you went through, in spite of how you suffered, you're still looking at your greed. Say to yourself, it is not over until I win.
You have to want something so big that it drives you to wake up when you don't want to. It keeps you up at night when you long been sleepy. It makes you show up, do things you wouldn't normally do. It requires action.
I don't know who this is for. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know how bad it hurt you. It hurt pretty bad. You survived, but something on the inside died in the process. And you're a shell of what you would have been, what you could have been, what you ought to have been, because life has cost you so much that you're wanting to do this.
And most people don't work on their dreams. Why? One is because of fear. The fear of failure. What if things don't work out? And the fear of success. What if they do and I can't handle it? These are not risk takers.
Turn your wounds into wisdom. You will be wounded many times in your life. You'll make mistakes. Some people will call them failures. But I have learned that failure is really God's way of saying, excuse me, you're moving in the wrong direction. It's just an experience.
When you think about life, everybody wants the prize, but nobody wants the process. Everybody wants the championship, but nobody wants the day-to-day. Everybody wants to win games, but nobody wants to put in the work that it takes to win games. And the Bible talks about in Proverbs, it says, the laborer's appetite works for him, and his hunger drives him on. The laborer's appetite works for him, and his hunger drives him on. And so my question to you all is, what's your appetite for winning? Because if you have an appetite for winning, your hunger will drive you every day. Your hunger will take you to the weight room. Your hunger will take you past 32. Your hunger will take you past the opposition. Your hunger will take you past adversity. Your hunger will take you past the trials and tribulations.